Now, though, we're going to hear from Stephen James, chairman of the Folkestone and Hythe Conservative Association, and also Labour Kent County Councillor Karen Constantine. Stephen, if I could start with you. We've spoken, haven't we, many times throughout this race for the next Tory party leader, and I know that it was a difficult choice for you. What about the cost of living? Are you convinced that she will do enough to get us through very turbulent times ahead?
Yeah, I'm convinced that the cohort of Conservative MPs that we've got are willing to put pragmatic solutions on the table. You just look at things like furlough. I mean, it's ultimately not a particularly conservative policy to be giving money out from taxpayers' money out, but when the chips are down, when people are struggling, they're willing to kind of absolutely do what is right in those terms. So I'm absolutely confident in terms of energy bills, the cost of living, that they will do what they can to make sure that not just people are helped, but also the country's finances are kept stable too.
Yeah, not an easy task for sure. Let's bring Karen in now. Karen, of course, from the Labour side of things. I'm sure you're watching carefully what we're hearing about Liz and her plans. What do you make of it so far? Are you confident that she'll get us through this winter?
I'm not confident at all, actually, and I think actually many Tories aren't confident. If you think about the way in which Liz has been elected and the lack of support amongst her own parliamentary party, and the lack of kind of cohesion and unity that has been demonstrated in the Conservatives, it's little wonder that people are waking up this morning horrified and terrified and really wanting a general election. I mean, Liz Truss has just enjoyed the shortest political honeymoon on record, and it is time now for a general election. This must come back to the people, because you cannot have a Prime Minister really that's been voted in after a kind of extensive kind of beauty pageant with only 81,000 people actually voting for Liz Truss, and I hate to be negative about it, but the state the country's in, not just the energy crisis, the cost of living crisis, the crisis that's in the NHS at the moment, it's almost everywhere we look that there is going to be struggle, and that has such a marked impact on people's quality of life.
But isn't that the point, the state the country's in? We don't have time for a general election. We've already been criticised as a country for dallying about choosing a new leader when action needs to be taken now. If there was an election, of course, that would put the brakes on, wouldn't it?
We've had the brakes on, haven't we? In fact, for the past 8 weeks, while this has been going on, we've had a vacuum in government where decisions that could have been made, plans that could have been dealt with, haven't been dealt with. The Conservative Party have given us the fourth PM in 6 years. It's time now to put that back to the people and let them choose not only who they want to lead the country, but what sort of policies, cast iron policies, costed, properly tested, manifesto commitments. Let people choose what they want now to lead them forward through this crisis, because this isn't going away. This isn't something that can be undone by one person in the next few weeks. We're in for the long haul now. The situation, particularly with the NHS, where you've got 10% vacancies inside the NHS and you've got a falling enrolment rate, say, for nurses, that cannot be fixed overnight. We need to go back to the general public. We need to see what the parties have got in their manifestos, and we need to give people, all people, a genuine choice, not just the Conservative card-carrying members.
Stephen, what do you think of that? Karen's not the only person, of course, calling for a general election. What do you make of it?
I don't think it's the right time for a general election at all. There are far too many things in Liz's intro that she needs to be getting on with, rather than, again, marching up and down the country campaigning. We need to be getting on with actually helping people. And I can kind of agree with we have been kind of self-indulgent this summer, and this is where we need to get refocused on actually what are the priorities and what we need to deliver. And I think it's right that we're looking at policies that aren't, like I said, aren't particularly conservative. Looking at freezing energy bills, and I know that conversations have already gone on with energy companies right now.
Yeah,
the top team is already kind of being put in place, and I think it's hugely important. And Karen was right. We have had quite a few prime ministers in the last couple of years, but I think it's also important to point out that the Conservative Party have also delivered 3 female prime ministers, and Labour are still waiting for their first female leader. So it's it's important. We're just driving, these issues of making sure that we're all working together and kind of, attacking each other. It doesn't help.
Not
What
at
we need to do is work
time.
together.
Yeah, go on, Karen.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see how long Tory unity holds, because, what I understand is that many people didn't back Liz. They made a decision, as we've just heard, very late in the day. But let's look at the polls overnight. You've got a YouGov poll that says 52% think that Liz Truss will be a terrible Prime Minister. That's overnight. 65% already think she's out of touch. I mean, how is she going to build up from that position? It's incredibly difficult. The Evening Standard did a poll as well, and 51% of the population want a general election. I mean, ultimately, we have to look at why we're in this situation. We're in this situation because we had Boris Johnson as a Prime Minister. He brought the country to a standstill. He's disreputable. He's gone in a brave hurrah this morning, but it doesn't really make any difference to people. I'm dealing with a poverty crisis in my division, 39% of children living in poverty. It's really, really not good enough. We've got the NHS close to collapse now before we go into winter. We've got the energy crisis. We need a proper set of solutions. People need to see what's in the manifestos of the various political parties, and they need to be given the opportunity to vote for those, because there are multiple ways forward now, and people should have a proper democratic choice. And I'm afraid without doing that, then we haven't got proper democracy anymore.
OK, let's just give Stephen the chance to reply to that, and then I'm afraid we're out of time. So final point from you, Stephen.
What I do appreciate is Karen's bravery to want to go into a general election with Keir Starmer as leader. I mean, a Labour Party leader who's, in my views, Labour Party standing up for, workers, and that's always been their message. And he can't even join the picket lines. So, what is it that the Labour Party actually stands for? So I think, their message themselves, is really confused at the moment and not very clear. So look, if Karen wanted a general election, I think that's very, very brave. Good for her. It's good to have that kind of confidence. But if I was in her position, I'd be, waiting for, a stronger leader to come along to lead her party into a general election.
Stephen James, chairman of the Folkestone and Hythe Conservative Association, alongside Labour's Kent County Councillor Karen Constantine, who says that it's time for a general election.